Okay, so are you able to see my document here in Word file?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so now we look back at the synopsis. Okay, this is actually in Malay synopsis. Synopsis of the course. Okay, there are three paragraphs. The first one is for Dr. Nur Idayu, and for her part, there's supposed to be two different course learning outcome. Okay, number 1 and number 2. Okay, so we look into my part. The first topic is lyotropic liquid crystal, general molecular characteristic of lyotropic Misogyn, the driving forces for the phase formation and characterization of self-assemblies. Okay, and then including the biological significance and application of the lyotropic. Okay, there is one course learning outcome based on that topic. Explain the driving force for the self-assembly of lyotropic liquid crystal phases and their biological significance. So that's mean application. So if you remember, that is actually related to your summative assessment. Okay, I ask you to pretend to be someone working in R&D unit. Okay, then you need to propose to synthesize a Misogyn for the use as a drug carrier that can carry and deliver more effective dose of drug. Okay, so it's very much depending on your preference. Okay, but you need to explain the advantage of your preferred drug carrier. Okay, so based on that, actually, I can see that some of you maybe understand, some of you maybe not really clear about that, but at the end, whatever you put in there, as long that there is a point, you still get some marks. Okay, that is the first course learning outcome based on my part, and the second one is polymer liquid crystal. Okay, liquid crystal main chain and liquid crystal side chain polymers. Okay, as you if you read the articles that I provided last week, okay, that is actually more recent trend and development in polymer liquid crystal. As you can see, there are more classification, but at the end, when you look it carefully, actually the main part is only the main chain and side chain polymer. Okay, and then there is related technical application for the polymer liquid crystal. So in that topic, okay, the course learning outcome is actually students should be able to illustrate polymer alignment and the relation with technical application of liquid crystal polymers. Okay, so I hope that you should be able to clearly distinguish the application of main chain and side chain polymer liquid crystal. Okay, because actually they maybe sound similar, they are made of polymer. Okay, but when we look at how the alignment in microscopically, we will understand why one of them is suitable for high strength fiber and why the other one is good for example, in non-linear optic application. Okay, so now we go through, we have enough time, and I hope that this is the time that you can see clearly what you have done, because we don't have so much session with live. Okay, and at the same time, it's kind of revision for you. Okay, the topic one, actually it's more kind of introduction, a little history. Okay, but I'm not talking about the history. I want you to actually understand the important part. Okay, so you should be able to define liquid crystal. Okay, and you know that it is the fourth state of matter. Okay, they are able to flow like a fluid, but also has order but not perfect as in crystal. Okay, so because of that, they are actually more interesting. The other also interesting, but liquid state of matter make it we can use it in different various kind of application because of that properties. Okay, and then the second part, we know that the birefringent, actually the characteristic that important in liquid crystal. Okay, so because they show birefringent because of they are not perfectly aligned. Okay, so the ray of light is actually disturbed when it's passing through the molecule. Okay, so that is the birefringent. Positional order and orientational order. Okay, it is material that we define as a liquid crystal. It must has this positional and orientational order. Okay, so positional order. We look at the first one, positional order. Describe the position of the Misogyn with respect to the Misogyn next to it. Okay, so sometimes they are they are not perfectly aligned, but when we compare that with the neighbor of the Misogyn, they are actually show some alignment. Okay, not perfectly random like in liquid. Okay, so the orientational, okay, when we look in three-dimensional relationship, okay, so in ampullae, for example, we can see that there is a two immiscible part, hydrophobic and hydrophilic, and we can see that actually the head actually pointing at the same direction. Okay, so that's why for liquid crystal they must showing the positional and also the orientational order. Okay, and when they actually saw some positional and orientational, we can see that macroscopically it's depend on the phase. We can see that actually some of the molecule is actually pointing at the same direction. Okay, so in that particular area we saw it, so that is actually showing a director. Okay, and close how actually closely aligned among the molecules, we use other parameter to quantify that. Okay, so perfect oriented, for example, in crystal, that will be 1, and if it is randomly, that is actually 0. So liquid crystal is in between 1 to 0 to 1. Okay, cannot be 0, cannot be 1. Okay, so what exactly the value, it's depending on the mesophase that exists in that liquid crystal phase. Okay, so in topic 2, we actually learn more specific to the lyotropic liquid crystal. Okay, so in this part, I hope that actually by now you should be able to distinguish the behavior of the Misogyn by just looking at the molecular design, because based on your assignment, it can be based on understanding or just based on what you do, what is available. Okay, but there is a keyword actually when I'm saying that application is a drug carrier. Of course, you will definitely will choose amphiphilic. Okay, so but as long it is lyotropic, there must be something that polar and non-polar part in that Misogyn. So there is an interaction with the solvent. It can be polar or non-polar solvent. We can see there is interaction between the solvent and our Misogyn. Okay, basically for lyotropic Misogyn, we actually have the amphiphilic and the chromonic. Okay, that two Misogyn, you can see clearly the difference between the two. One is actually based on pi staking. That's why they staking and arranging one on top of each other. The other one actually based on another driving force. For example, the microphase separation, okay, the hydrophobic effect. For the amphiphilic. Okay, so there are other type that actually I provide in my slide. Okay, but if you look it closely, it is actually, it just added some unique characteristic to that Misogyn. Okay, for example, metallomisogyn, you can see that there is a metal, okay, but in principle, you still can see there is a hydrophobic and hydrophilic part, okay, and similar to the part, if we say it is a peptide, okay, it is just made of peptide, but actually made of peptide, okay, but it's still containing hydrophilic and hydrophobic part. Okay, and in the next part, ability to describe the polymorphism, self-assembly of amphiphilic molecule in contact with solvent. Okay, so in contact with solvent, it can be normal or inverted based on the type of the solvent that actually interacting with our Misogyn. Okay, the important part is whatever the type of our solvent, okay, the hydrophobic or hydrophilic part will be pointed towards the solvent based on dissolved, okay. So for lyotropic, the keyword is actually polar, so you have to understand what are polar molecules, okay, in order for you to able to distinguish amphiphilic with chromonic, for example, okay. Then the last part, ability to sketch the molecular arrangement in micelle, hexagonal, nematic, and lamellar phase. Okay, so this semester, of course, I'm not able to test you on that, but I hope you should be able at least to visualize the difference between that different molecular arrangement. Okay, so that is topic number 2. And oh no, I want to add one more point. Okay, so the polymorphism, the self-assembly, it actually must occur in sequence. Okay, for example, the discontinuous cubic phase must come first before the hexagonal. Okay, it's not the other way around. Okay, so as I said, it must actually in sequence. Sometimes one the liquid crystal that's shown by a real material, maybe only 1 or 2, not everything, but when it's come for assigning, okay, so we know that the bicontinuous and discontinuous, actually there is a phase in between which is hexagonal, okay. And then the topic number 3, okay, so normally this is just based on theory, understanding, okay, because I normally will not ask a student how to identify if I give you any phase, because actually need someone really good in assigning it. Not only that, but actually it's in real life, actually it's very hard to identify liquid crystal phase, except if you have a very pure compound, okay, up to 97%, maybe we can trust on your assignment. Otherwise, okay, maybe it's not so clear. Okay, so the key point is there must be a very pure compound that you are investigating. Okay, otherwise we will need a few techniques, and still not easy to there are more to consider when we actually assigning liquid crystal phase. So that's why normally in TASE or in exam, I never ask the student to identify any liquid crystal phase. Okay, so topic number 4, application. Okay, that is actually very straight to the point. There is a relationship between the macrostructure and the application. Okay, so as I discussed in this, for example, in medical application, okay, as a drug carrier, we actually can use vesicle, which is actually based on lamellar phase. Okay, and then we will have a hexosome based on the hexagonal phase, and cubic based on the will actually form cubosome. Okay, but actually each of them actually will serve different purpose. Okay, so normally for vesicle, that is a simple, and also the release will be fast. Okay, and we can modify the surface, and we can target it the site of targeted the site by modifying the surface. Okay, so it's easy. Okay, and the release may be also faster compared to bigger and more complicated structure like cubic and hexosome. Okay, because cubosome and hexosome, they're actually able to release slowly. It can be months or years. So it's different type of treatment. Okay, for example, for cancer treatment, okay, to reduce the number of administration, maybe we can use something that release slowly. So cubosome and hexosome is actually more suitable for that. Okay, something that fast. Okay, we can use vesicle, for example. Okay, that is actually the lyotropic. And then now our last topic, okay, polymer liquid crystal. Okay, we learn about the classification and then relate that with the application. Okay, so okay, we have discussed the classification of polymer liquid crystal. Okay, we actually look through the basic, how the template or the structure of main chains and also the side chain polymer liquid crystal. Okay, and as I said, basically that's the only two, but it can be a combination between the two, or sometimes we can further classify based on the misogenic unit that used in that polymer liquid crystal. For example, if it is a calamitic, okay, or discotic type of mesogen that attached to it. Okay, or sometimes using a dendrimer. Dendrimer is actually highly ordered branch polymeric molecule attached as a mesogenic unit. So that's why you can see there are actually subclassification of polymer liquid crystal. Okay, and in main change liquid crystal polymer, okay, there is a very common example is application is high strength fiber, which is Kevlar. Okay, so and now I would like to explain, or maybe I would like to hear from you, why actually main chain liquid crystal polymer, especially Kevlar, is stronger than steel, for example. Any one of you would like to answer? Okay, for your information, the Kevlar is actually in nematic phase. Any one of you have taken solid state chemistry?
No.
No,
Doctor.
okay. No, so, but in your inorganic first year, do you still remember how actually atom placed in their crystal lattice? Actually, a very ordered crystal. I'm sure if you never taken solid state, in your mind at the moment must be all the perfectly ordered crystal. Okay, so if you are able to see, you will able to visualize. Here I give you crystal. Okay, CR crystal. Okay, but of course I don't give example as uh, atom in just in a sphere. Okay, so we just say, not just say, let's say we use a calorimetric molecule. Okay, so if you can see, they are actually arranged at repeating distance, and you can see from one layer to the other layer, the second layer. Okay, here maybe I should use red color. Okay, so actually there is a gap here. And if you still remember in crystal, how the simple crystal, or when it is when you enlarge it into not only in simple cubic, but more bigger, you still can see that actually they are arranged perfectly. So let's say if we want to cut it, or if there is a crack happen, it's actually the crack can go easily through the space through the layer between the first, or the first to the top or the lower alignment. Okay, so that's why it's not so strong, easily to break. Okay, so now we compare with liquid crystal, but in smectic A. Okay, smectic A is actually just slightly, there is, you can see a bit not aligned, not perfectly in position, just in average. Okay, so for example here, this is basically the positional order. Okay, and of course that is the orientational order. But again, crack can actually go through between the layer from the top and the bottom layer. So it's actually, we can break it easily. Okay, but if you try to imagine in nematic, because actually it's not only one layer. Okay, we look at this. Let's say this is the positional order of that, but and also if we look at macroscopically, it's almost random. Maybe my drawing is not perfect, but we still can see that actually that is the director for that. Okay, and okay, and here similar. Okay, that is the average, and here, okay, and okay, so it's not as good as in smectic, but you can see that that is macroscopically. Okay, macroscopically, and this is microscopically, micro in my CRO. Okay, so and when you look at this, if we want to break it, it's actually not as simple as in crystal or in another type of liquid crystal phase. Okay, so if we want to crack in here, it's actually will pass through, and this is only on the surface. So inside there are more director actually available. So that's why it's actually very difficult to break it. So at the same time, because it is not made of steel, okay, you know, steel we can actually easily make it dent. Okay, so and also it's heavy. But for polymer, it is actually light compared to steel. At the same time, it's very strong because of the pneumatic phase. Okay, so for mentioned application, they are actually known as application as a high strength fiber. Okay, so the second part, okay, so I think that is the most important that not available in your lecture note. Okay, to discuss the second part is the side chain liquid crystal polymer. Okay, so for me actually this is more clear, straightforward to understand. I'm not sure if you have any question. Of course, you can ask me. Okay, so we actually learn the structure and property relationship, okay, based on the backbone and also the mesogenic unit. Okay, we have a backbone and the mesogenic unit actually the component of spacer, linker unit, mesogenic unit, and terminal group. Okay, so that is all actually let's say belong together. Okay, um, like a pendant. Okay. Okay, so now we look at each of them. Okay, the backbone, okay, if we want to see how that actually influenced the behavior, the liquid crystalline behavior of that polymer. Okay, so if we use more flexible backbone, okay, it's actually will able to lower the glass transition. Okay. So it's depending on the material. Okay, maybe sometime the TG, the glass transition is higher than room temperature. Okay, so normally the material that we need supposed to be liquid crystal at room temperature. So let's say the TG is around 50, let's say higher than the room temperature. Okay, but if we change to something that more flexible, okay, so maybe they will able to show liquid crystal phase lower than the room temperature. So that will be more useful for us. Okay, so that is the backbone, then the spacer. Okay, short and less flexible. Okay, so when the spacer, the connecting, okay, unit is actually short, so the mesogenic unit will be not able to move easily inside there. Okay, so that's why if it is aligned from the beginning, it may be able to show smectic. Okay, but if showing a nematic, okay, it will actually able to um, nematic phase. Okay, we can actually no. If we actually use a longer, okay, because nematic is almost like isotropic. Okay, if it is longer, so when we increase the temperature, it will able to move. Okay, the chain will be melting. Okay, but the mesogenic unit, because it is rigid, okay, so it's actually maybe able to show nematic phase. Okay, and then mesogenic unit. Okay, so if we use too much benzene ring at the mesogenic unit, can you imagine benzene ring is actually let's say 3 or more than 4 actually will make it very rigid. Okay, so it's not good. Okay, will not show liquid crystal phase. Okay, because the mesogenic unit is not in other words, it's more rigid. Okay. Okay, linker unit, actually the linker, it's depending on the type of the link that we're using, either it is a polar or non-polar, okay, straight or bent, okay, actually that will influence the liquid crystal behavior. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of things that we can play, we can manipulate to actually to tune the liquid crystal behavior of our side chain polymer liquid crystal. Okay, and then if we want to see in terms of the structure of main chain and side chains polymer liquid crystal, actually in side chain, it is very difficult to align. Okay, once it's aligned, it will remain aligned, okay, for very long time. Okay, so we need external perturbation. It could be a solvent, a very strong solvent. For example, in preparing the Kevlar, we use a strong concentrated sulfuric acid, okay, and it could be using laser, okay, heat to melt the material, okay, such as in the application of the optical information storage, okay. So we use actually laser in the writing. Actually, when we look at the molecular level, okay, we use that heat to melt, to make it melting into isotropic, or to make it perfectly aligned, okay. But it is very thin layer, okay. So homeotropic alignment, we can see that they actually perfectly everything pointing on top. So that's why we can see it is a transparent, okay. So, and then a little about the non-linear optic application, okay. So it's in our eyes, maybe we can see it's just a fiber that just look transparent, but it's actually able to transfer the information faster, okay. And there is the thing that influence that is actually the mesogenic unit in that side chain polymer liquid crystal, okay. So I don't give you so much, I give you very brief about that. So I hope that you should be able to see clearly the difference between the two type of polymer liquid crystal, okay. So if you read the paper, you can see there are actually more other application, okay. But in order to make you understand and at least gain some knowledge, I will not discuss much on that. It's good for you to know as a knowledge, but for your taste, okay, I hope that you only pay attention to what is written in this view here. Okay, so next week is actually holiday, so I'll give you taste in week 14. Okay. Okay, so that's all for discussion based on my part. Okay, so if you have anything, you can actually ask me. If you embarrassed, you can text me.
Doctor,
Okay,
for the test is only two topic 5 and start from topic 5?
6.
Or
Yes, only based on polymer.
polymer, okay.
Okay, main chain and side chain, but the side chain actually in two part. One is I'm talking about the 3 actually, 6.1, 6.2.1, 6.2.2. Okay, but the 6.2.2 I didn't. I only give you very brief information on spectrum. There is no lecture note for that, but I hope that is
Okay,
enough.
doctor. Thank you.
Welcome. Actually, in this topic, okay, based on my experience, okay, normally student they have a problem in understanding the part 1. Okay, and most of the time the second part will help them to gain more marks, because actually it's very I would say it's very straightforward. Okay, I will ask what is the effect if you play with the short or longer spacer, okay, or maybe I will ask you to explain based on your own words what are the classification of polymer liquid crystal. But to my surprise, most of the time, actually, I will realize that students, they are not able to provide me the general template for either main chain or side chain. They don't even know where is the terminal group. Okay, so sometimes because if you don't understand, you should ask me. But of course, maybe at the time they don't expect me to ask that question. So when I ask where are the terminal group, let's say I give sketch of the side chain polymer, okay, and then I ask the student to name the part A, B, C, D, E, F, and most of the time they're actually not able to tell me which one actually the terminal group. The word is terminal. It must be at the end, but yeah, maybe some student they think that that is not important. Okay, so if I say that is important, so take it seriously. Okay, it will contribute 15 marks, 15 over 100. Okay, that polymer part in your test. Okay, so if you don't have anything, you can actually dismiss. I will stop recording. Okay, so I wait for the recording to arrive in my email. Later on, I will post in Spectrum. Ayman Zulkifli. Why to Ayman Zulkifli?
One is for viewing, one is for hearing. Because
Oh.
my laptop audio is not functioning.
Oh, okay. Because actually it takes time for me to check the attendance, but I just look at the number of participants. So it's okay. I can check the attendance here actually. Aisha Humaira also too. Oh, actually there are more. Hasana, who else? Izian also. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, if you don't have anything, you can dismiss.
Thank you, Doctor.